people to sort of fill the room.
Hey Adam.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. I thought I better listen in case I repeat what you're saying.
We'll be sharing mutually some good advice, but yeah, it'd be good to have your thoughts on this.
All collaboration right now.
Exactly, right. For those who don't know, Katie runs another business development consultancy on the South Coast, so we are friends and competitors.
Yes, that's a good place to be.
Exactly. Cool. So, right, I'll just I'm going to share my screen with you guys. There we go. So, right, yeah. So, some people are joining. There's a poll at the bottom. I've not used this function before, but it'd be interesting to see people's thoughts on it and maybe give it a go. I've put a couple of questions in there. And there is the ability to ask questions throughout this as well. So either in the chat or just, you can raise your hand and talk to me directly. I'll pause every now and again to skip out of this so I can answer some questions, so we can try and make it a bit more interactive. But essentially, Grey Matters as a business development consultancy, and we help agencies with their growth, with their positionings, with their strategies, and moving forward. And I guess, in light of recent affairs, we thought it was essential that we kind of came out with some ideas of what you can be doing around business development. And people have differing opinions on this, whether or not they think it's completely dead and whether or not they can't do anything. But there are opportunities out there, and despite what people may think, but it's a case of changing your tact. So I'll skip through. I mean, some of you who joined a webinar last week may have seen a couple of these slides, but I think the first point I just wanted to make is that we're all adjusting to this new reality, and like myself, and everybody else, we're all being affected in one way or another. So we fully empathise, and it's a case of not panicking and trying to keep calm. I'm sure there's lots of people out there talking about how to adjust working from home, using online webinars, looking at cash flow and cutting back on costs, and all these sort of things are essential. But what I want to talk to you is about kind of focusing on the future, because I do believe, we will come out of this stronger, and now's the time to put yourself in the best opportunity and position for that. So the first thing I just want to touch upon is the kind of the view of your new customer. And I guess it's your customer in terms of the marketing departments and your clients who you're talking to, but they've also got a very different customer in who they're trying to talk to, and some of these you might recognize. So, just from a mindset perspective, it's the kind of anxiousness, people are being cautious, cutting back on budgets. They're thinking about how they do adapt to this new sort of environment. On a personal level, there's a lot of cabin fever and a feeling of isolation. They're fearful. They're thinking about how you be a good corporate citizen, and ultimately, how do we survive? There will be a lot of businesses that go under as a result of this. And on that too, then, is in terms of challenges for those people and for those businesses that they work for. They're shifting media spend online, especially from outdoor advertising, and what does that mean for brands? They're reassessing their kind of marketing that's live at the moment and thinking what's appropriate or inappropriate and maybe has to change and come down. They're listening to customers, or they're trying to listen to customers, but there's a lot of noise out there. There's I'm sure you've seen, there's a ton of webinars, there's content, there's guides. It's almost overwhelming for us, let alone our customers. There's a fear of, trying to be authentic and not profiteering from this. So not just jumping on the bandwagon and making money. Are their products and services relevant anymore? How can they be using tech differently to further their business? And how can we give back and be more sort of corporate social responsibility, and also be ready and available to customers? So there's a lot of challenges. But every time I see challenges, I also see opportunity. So I think, these are all things that you can be helping your clients with, And these are all messages you can be taking to your clients or to your prospects right now and talking about how you can help them adapt to this new reality and embrace it. Okay, so that's the kind of new market. You know, aside from new business, the first thing I want to just talk about is looking after your current clients, because ultimately new business is going to slow down, you know, whether we like it or not. You know, we're just not going to be able to close many deals. People are going to be cautious and held back on budgets. So I think for me, this is about two things. One is acting as a sort of true partner. You know, in the early days, you should have checked in with all your customers and asking them sort of how they're feeling. And you want to do that just from a friendship perspective, but, you know, also from a cash flow perspective. You know, are they going to be able to pay your invoices? Are they going to be putting things on hold, and what impacts that might have on your business? You know, empathize with them, look at the challenges they're going through. So some of the ones I've listed, but also kind of nuances that they might have, you know, in their industry sectors or with their business. And also be there to offer that kind of customer service. You know, is there sort of flexibility in payment terms, or, you know, how can we still deliver the same service that we always did? So we need to be there for them. The other side is sort of thinking on your feet. And this is kind of, you know, being proactive and providing solutions to them and helping them adapt to this new, you know, climate. And I think there's, you know, there's risks in that, but there's also opportunities. And I'll talk about some of those as we go through. But ultimately, the more you can keep your clients happy, the stronger your retention is of clients and keeping that existing work, the less strain there is on new business. And, you know, as a business development consultancy, we're the first people to point out that, you know, if you've got a leaky bucket, you know, you're going to be struggling even more so to win new clients all the time. So it's about how do you sort of adjust to this reality. Just going to come out and see if there's any questions or things that have come through in the chat. So hi Adam, do you mind if I take a screen grab, a particularly interesting slide? I'll share all the slides with you, so you don't have to take a screen grab. I will share them. So don't worry about that. Let me just gonna allow a few other people to talk if they want to. And I think there is a sort of raise your hand button as well. Cool. All right, nice. So we've got about 32 people. I'll jump back in. So yeah, I mean, just the sort of phrase, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I think, you know, this is, as well as a fearful time, you know, it's also a time to be positive right now. And I think, you know, we've got to look at the opportunities that were handed to us. And I think, you know, I'll talk about some of the businesses that are doing well, but there are many of them and many industries. So as much as the doom and gloom, you know, there is a sort of equilibrium in the world and things shift. And I think we need to sort of adapt and make that shift too. You know, what that might look like for you guys is a sort of opportunities. You know, I see online community. I mean, I've heard the word community about 10 billion times. I don't know about you guys, but, you know, look at what we're doing now. You know, this is our second webinar. You know, we've got 4 more, and I think there's a case of people coming together more than ever right now. So how are you building your own online community? Looking at what you offer, you know, can you cut down what you offer to just offer the essentials, you know, without the sort of bells and whistles of what you might normally do or build or design or create for customers, but just what is the simple, you know, just to get them by. Looking at international brands, I mean, obviously things are changing since I first wrote that, South America, because I think Brazil's actually got quite a few cases now. But as a percentage in terms of population, you know, Russia, South America, Africa, you know, thriving economies that are relatively unaffected by the coronavirus. And, you know, why aren't we working with brands or reaching out to brands in those areas? Thinking about that. Producing something of real benefit to your clients. So just, you know, I work with an agency who worked with Pioneer, and they just did a really nice internal comms piece to all their customers, to all their staff, just to say that they were there to support them. Didn't charge for it, but it was just an extra way of keeping that client, maintaining that relationship and that conversation. You might take steps to support local initiatives. So, you know, there's a lot of, you know, CSR activity going on right now. And I think that's something that we could all, you know, learn from, and, you know, I'll talk a bit more about being authentic in doing so. Going virtual, so things like this, moving your events to online, producing more social content and being more vocal on social media channels is important and something you can do. But again, it's about relevance, cutting through the noise and sort of being different. So if you're thinking about your content strategy, do really think hard about it, because as I say, their channels are being bombarded. Getting your clients to switch from sort of outdoor to online is sort of essential, and then remove any kind of inappropriate messaging either from yourselves or from your clients, just to say, like, is this the best time to be pushing out a message like that? And then some of the conversations you might want to have with clients is just, how can they be a source of truth and a positive impact in the world right now? How can they help build new routines at home? So we're seeing that from sort of fitness videos to DJs online to, food deliveries. How can we build this new routine at home? If you're like me, me and my wife have got now a Google spreadsheet where we're mapping out our calendar for the year of who looks after our daughter, and it's all changing, and we have to adjust to that. That's the new reality. It's kind of crazy, but the sooner you sort of embrace it, the easier. How can you get brands to recognize and affirm new social norms? So, being online and being isolated, it's normal now. Although this is kind of unprecedented, there are a lot of learnings we can take from previous recessions and previous times where the economy has been in a slump. I don't think there's anything quite like this, but there are still learnings that are worth reviewing. And just, listening, how can brands be present and invest in those consumer relationships? And there's some great examples which I'll sort of come on to talk about. I think I saw a question just pop up. Do you feel now is a good time to speak to tire kickers, those who might just want to learn more about your company and not necessarily hot prospects? Now it's time to speak to tire. I'm trying to understand the context of what you're talking about. Who's the tire kicker here? It's never a good time to speak to tire kickers, because, if they're tire kickers, they're not really adding value. But I certainly think if, looking at, some of the things that I'm talking about here, there are ways to add value. There are ways to make brands relevant and be engaged in what's going on in people's lives right now. So I think you've got to reverse it. This isn't about selling. This is about helping. This is about actually listening and understanding what people need and being present. So I think we need to remove the idea of selling. I think this is true in all business development. The more you try and sell, the less you sell, right? And I think people really struggle to get their head around that. It's about adding value. It's about being relevant. It's about helping people. And if you do those things, you won't have a problem with sales. But I don't know if other people have sort of views on that. But yeah, do continue to jump in and ask questions. And I think, if you can talk as well, just just shout through or raise your hand and let us know. Okay, so thinking about brands during this time. So there's robust data. This is from Kantar and a econometric company called Data to Decisions. Brands that reduce their spend in a recession come out worse. And I've got more charts on this that I had to sort of cut down to select. But it is true that the recovery period for brands that cut their spending now will struggle coming out of this. So this was shown in the 2008 financial crash, as you can see there. It's not a case of, just doing nothing right now. I get that there is going to be a slowdown and people cutting back 100%, but it's about adjusting and adapting. It's not about stopping. And, if everybody stops, the economy is going to grind to a halt and we're all going to go under. So I think there's something in this to sort of continue to, to continue as much as you can to push forward. And I think this is something that you need to talk to your clients about. That's why I'm giving you these slides, because this is data and stats you should be taking to your clients who are looking at cutting marketing budgets. And it's, maybe it's a case of not cutting it completely, cutting back where possible, but then thinking about, how we come out of this stronger. there's a long list here. These are, a couple of industries that we've tailored that actually boom in a recession, and actually, this is slightly adapted to the current coronavirus that we're seeing as well, because it's not a normal recession, because it's not just a recession. We're in isolation, or quarantine as we should be calling it. But this is a different kind of beast we're dealing with. But we're seeing, discount stores, the likes of like a Walmart or an Aldi or a Costco, and these kind of companies doing, as they always do, very well during these times. Any essential goods, FMCG. I mean, supermarkets have just posted their biggest sales in a month ever. Period. And people are going on the supermarket. I think I read 5 times, a week. Well, they were just coming into this period. So any essential goods are strong, and FMCG market, and they've got money. They've all got money. Those supermarkets, those FMCG brands that everyone's struggling to get hold of. How can they be relevant? And what are they doing with that budget to give back to society when it needs it most? Why are you as agencies not talking to those brands and saying, what are we doing with this budget? What are we doing to make ourselves heard and relevant to push on? Any delivery services, so and in any e-commerce, so I'm sure like Amazon, but like me, I'm sure you're seeing lots of local restaurants and bars and pieces turn into delivery services. A lot of them are turning to Deliveroo and getting themselves on that, and they're thriving. Little coffee shops down the road, they're not all dead. They're actually, a lot of them are doing very, very well through this, because they've adapted their supply lines, and they're actually able to service the local community. So they're all doing well, and obviously the wider delivery services as well, the Uber Eats of this world, and Just Eat. Sin industries tend to do well, so things like tobacco, wine, gambling, online poker, things like that. They're all absolutely thriving. Home entertainment brands like Lego, Disney, absolute record profits at the moment, sales through the roof. I know they're being bombarded. I think someone spoke to PlayStation the other day, and they were just like, yeah, we've had about 3,000 calls. So I think it is a case of, people are chasing the same things, which inevitably happens in times like this. But there are brands doing well, and there are people spending. There is money there. People who specialize in kind of repairing and upgrading. So, this is kind of like, I'm not going to buy a new dishwasher. I'm going to repair my existing one, or I'm going to fix something up to make do. And I think that happens a lot in this sort of time where people cut back. Pharma and health, medicines, obviously, if you're trying to get paracetamol, good luck to you. They are all thriving. Confectionery, chocolate, it's quick, it's easy, it's like, it's what people want, it's cheap. It gives people a little kick, and it's there for the endorphins. Any kind of sweets and chocolate is booming. Cosmetics we often see do quite well, so things like like lipsticks and stuff did very well during the last recession, because again, it's a relatively cheap way of putting a smile on people's faces, and that's what people want right now. So little things that are affordable but make a big difference to someone's mental state can have a big impact. Luxury goods is a maybe a sort of question mark, but there are a very small percentage of the population that are very wealthy and will be relatively unaffected by this recession completely. And I think some luxury goods are doing very well at the moment, and just aren't seeing that effect happening to their business. Contraceptives, yeah, again, like you do see, like people are talking about the coronials and the new boom of babies that might happen come the end of the year. There's also the talk of many divorces and lawyers being quite busy come the end of the year too, with the isolation going on. But I think that it's true. It's contraceptives. It's a cheap thrill, and tax services. If I'm sure you've all struggled to get into your accountants at the moment, and so I think tax services and anyone dealing with sort of litigation, money, mergers, things like that is doing quite well. And someone's just posted, creative and crafts, 100%. I mean, me and my wife completed a puzzle. We can't get another one. It's the puzzles on Amazon are sold out. It's ridiculous. But I bought a knitting kit for my sister to keep her busy. crafts are going to be very big at the moment. So I think that's another market that I should definitely add to this. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. These are big industry sectors. There are a plethora of brands and businesses within that give you kind of food for thought about how you can adapt and adjust and move forward. Just going to flip out and just see questions. That's a long question, which I can't read all of that.
It's not a question. Adam, it's not a question.
Paul, Paul, do you want to ask that question out loud?
Adam, good morning. Yes, it wasn't meant as a question, guys. Sorry, and thank you for your time. Thank you for your time on this. It was just picking up on the point that you made, which is a really important one about challenges means opportunities. And I just wanted to reference it for those who perhaps haven't had a chance to see it. The 2019 Havas Media Group's Meaningful Brands report. It's a pretty worthy piece. They survey 350,000 consumers in 31 countries, and in 2019, so long before the experience we're going through now, one of the key highlighted conclusions, and I've quoted it here, they said 68% of consumers, so 68% of those they surveyed, expected brands to play a proactive role in their well-being and quality of life, yet only 33% believe brands are actively doing so right now. So in conversations with brands, brand owners, even media owners, now couldn't be a more relevant time to say, listen, we should be thinking about this, to your point about how do you authentically enable positive social impact. So this isn't a sales message. This is how do you as a brand help your consumers realize some of their key expectations right now, and therefore hopefully become more relevant and meaningful to those customers.
Yeah, so definitely. And I think I'm probably going to come on to sort of reiterate some of those points right now within this, because it, as I say, it's not about ambulance chasing, from this perspective. This is about how do we help these brands survive and, as you say, stay relevant. And yeah, I know the Havas Index quite well. Great piece of research, great piece of marketing content that was done by them. So it's a kind of, as well as that, in terms of if you're looking at how to grow your agency or how to do business development, just look at the Havas Meaningful Brands Index, and it's about how they put, how they acted, it's not just comms. They actually put something together at the heart of it, and were able to generate a huge amount of content and an entire sort of momentum off the back of it as well. So it's something all agencies can definitely learn from. So going on to sort of, as you just said, your point there, brands should be mindful. I think, there's a lot of things, like you've got a backlash here, top right, of someone who's pretty grossed out about brands using, Corona as a sort of marketing tool and thinking this is a case to sell something. So, this was some thoughts put together actually by BBH, and they've got a great deck on kind of adjusting in the current climate. And some of the points they put here is kind of know your role. This is like, as in you talking to brands, but it's kind of relevant to everyone. Know your role in all of this. Keep it real, and be authentic. Listen to people. Be reachable to people who are trying to get in touch with brands. And a lot. If you're trying to get in touch with any of the banks or any companies at the moment, their customer service is inundated. So what are you doing to help them through social media? How are you helping them adapt? How can people be calm and not knee-jerk reaction? Don't be opportunistic, as we said. Adding clarity. Sometimes it's just about adding clarity to what's going on in the world. There's so much noise, and some people just want a bit of, sense of idea of what is a sense of truth. And being a sense of truth makes you a credible, trusted brand. Lighten the mood. I do like the one by sort of Pornhub there. It's okay, you can touch yourself. I think humor can go a long way in all of this, and showing benefits, so not being boastful. So I think I've got an example on the next slide of how sort of Disney released Frozen 2 early, but they didn't say it was because of coronavirus. They just said, we're releasing it early, here's something great for all of our fans to enjoy. So sometimes it's just not about sort of flexing your muscles, but showing how impressive you are. It's just about helping people. Shifting media, as I said, from sort of outdoor to online or TV, or where those channels are going to be most consumed based on media consumption at the moment. being helpful and being generous. So, you know, just things that brands can be really mindful of right now that we can help them to achieve. And then on the other side, it's actions that speak louder than words. So it's not just the comms that actually need to help. So obviously I said be helpful, be generous, but you know, you've got things like Brewdog there who launched their sort of hand sanitizer, and Zara sort of donating sort of face masks to workers. And it's like, it's incredible, really, you know, you see these businesses and how the world is able to change and adapt at such a vast speed and scale. And I think, you know, we've all got that ability to do with our own businesses and to help other people do it. But there are some rules, you know, so things like stay in your lane in terms of like, you know, don't try and stretch yourself too far and be something you're not. Curate utility. So in terms of being helpful to people, there's so much out there, you know, it's just curating it and giving it to people in a simplified message. They don't necessarily have to build or create all this new kind of utility. Empower the experts that were out there, and, you know, help people, help others. So it might not be about even about a direct way that, you know, say that they're helping people. It might be helping people who are helping people, you know, so there's all routes to market. Looking after your own people, I think it's so important from a sort of, even from a PR perspective, even your agencies, yourself and your clients, how are they looking after their own people? Because that in itself is a PR story. And that goes a long way to say about your company and the leadership and how you're currently set up. Going local, so supporting local communities in any way, shape or form. Repurpose things, so like the brew gel. Be thankful, so like the post for the, you know, I love NHS and supporting people. Find the pain points, looking back at those challenges we said, look at what people are struggling with at the moment, and what they can do to alleviate some of those pain. Make lemonade, I've already sort of touched upon that. And invent new traditions. So, you know, I think there are some things that we're doing and things that are changing to our society that could stay, that could be fundamental changes and differences to our entire culture. And maybe there's a way of inventing that. You know, you've got to only got to look at the house party app, and, you know, is that going to, you know, that could survive beyond this a new tradition. But there's so many other things that I think, you know, that people are adjusting to, and people go, oh, actually, no, that's not a bad way of working. That's quite interesting. So maybe we'll keep that up. So yes, just gonna again sort of flip out, sort of to look at Q&A. What about the rise? What about the rise of local, e.g., small suppliers going direct to consumer? Yeah, so direct to consumer we're seeing instead of traditional routes is really important, and for that to be successful, people need to invest in their own brand. So you've got small suppliers doing it, but there's, you know, even big brands. I think, you know, you look at like someone like Nescafe, or is it, yeah, Nescafe, who did like the pods. You know, they always sold through John Lewis, and then they sort of shifted their whole strategy a few years back to opening their own stores, selling direct. But they did it to build their brand, and, you know, and now they're creating their own cafes, so they're able to diversify quite a lot. And if you've got that direct relationship with your consumers, you can do that. So I think you might see that from even small suppliers now as well. Given the current situation, I anticipate a big investment into new digital transformations or products or services too. So yeah, I don't know if we've got any sort of digital transformation agencies. You know, I work with a couple, and, you know, they are, and even some in the retail space. So I know a couple that work for like Gap and Levi. They are doing pretty well at the moment in terms of, like, as in the shops aren't doing well, but their budget and their investment into how they're transforming their organizations to be more digital is still continuing, even more so now. So I think if you're a business that helps, you know, brands and businesses on that digital transformation journey, then now's the time you should be talking to those businesses and thinking, well, you know, what can you do in the physical world? You know, I was talking to a jeweler the other day about, you know, and they're so traditional. It's all through, you know, retail shops on high streets, and there's no e-commerce. So, you know, prime example for an e-commerce, you know, brand to go online, you know, and think about the future. So that's all good. All right, I'll jump back in. Yeah, any other questions? Just use the chat on the side, guys, if you need to. So just flipping it back into sort of our own, like how we're currently doing new business ourselves. And this is kind of a bit of a map of tools that we use to, you know, shift leads along through and nurture them over time. Most of them are pretty obvious and you'll recognize, but you know, I do think now is an important time for you and your clients to be using technology to really nurture leads and market yourselves and push people on. So, you know, the likes of MailChimp and how that integrates into your CRM system, your social channels and how you're using that, but also how you're capturing data. Because a lot of this stuff, I think, without the capturing of data, there's no knowledge of who you're marketing to. So, you know, if you get like a load of, you know, like say something gets a load of likes or business on your Instagram and it's a load of other businesses, there's not really a market there to sort of focus on. Whereas if you've got some sort of data capture, you know who's reading your blog, so you know who's downloading things, and I think you've got an opportunity to nurture those people. If you're not using a CRM system, I can't stress this enough. If you're still using spreadsheets or think you can get by with Google Sheets and things like that, you know, you're missing a huge trick. I can't tell you the amount of revenue and new business opportunities you'll be missing over and why you're not creating a sort of consistent, robust pipeline, and why you're sort of always going through peaks and troughs. It's because of the lack of use of a CRM system. And if you are using it, it's using it correctly. I mean, you should be looking at your CRM system every other day, in my opinion, and possibly daily, you know, and you know, that needs to become habitual. But there's lots of other tools, you know, Alpha Insight, if you use Winmo, Rainmaker, loads of different things that you can use to sort of, you know, move things along and add to this. I'm sure you've got loads, but there's some fundamentals you do need to think about upgrading what you're doing at the moment. In terms of this time, you know, as I say, some of you might feel uneasy about selling still and might not want to focus on new business at this kind of, in terms of outreach, that is. And now might be a time to batten down the hatches and start planning for the future and putting yourself in a really strong positioning. So I think these are kind of some of the core areas that you should and can be focusing on. And you know, how many times have we seen or heard that these have all been put onto the back burner, or we haven't got time to do them? But now's a better time than ever that if you've got downtime, because you can sort all this out and leave yourself in a really strong position in 3 to 6 months' time. So looking at your positioning and sort of, you know, digging into that and sort of how you're differentiating yourself, looking at the audiences you're talking to, and sort of what you stand for at this time. There might be sort of slight adjustments to that in this current crisis, but there's also parts of your positioning that should never change. And so, you know, we can give you lots more advice on that if that's something you need. On the same side, your new business strategy. So what's the roadmap for growth? How are you going to get there? How are you going to build this effective sales machine, and all the tactics you're going to employ within that, you know, need to be thought about, and you can start putting in place that strategy for the future. Your pipeline and sort of just being really clear on your pipeline and just having a good view on it, and making sure it's structured in the right way, and thinking about how you're nurturing people. Your website and marketing collateral, classic. You know, the amount of times I've spoken to agencies where it's like, yes, we've been meaning to do that for 2 years and we're still not getting around to it. You know, it's maybe now is the time to really think about your website, think about that marketing collateral you've got, tweak it, update it, adjust it. Think about the content. You know, you could create content now for the future. So thinking about evergreen content that might last the test of time. You know, you don't have to release it all now, but what content could you produce now that you might be able to use, you know, when things do get busy again in 6 months' time, and then you've suddenly got this kind of whole plethora of content you can dig into and be even more active. Would be great. Setting KPIs. I appreciate your KPIs have probably massively adjusted at the moment, or you're not even focusing on them. But if you're not clear on the metrics you need in your business, then you are not going to be able to grow. So thinking about the number of leads you get, where those leads come from in terms of inbound, outbound, referral, the number of creds meetings that you go on or do, the number of pitches and proposals you submit, how long does a deal take to close, what's your average value size of a deal, all these questions you should have the answers to at the top of your head. And if you don't, the one below this, the CRM system, going on about it again, and we use Pipedrive as our sort of preferred CRM system because we find it quite, it's visually effective, it's customizable, it's easy to use, and it's not expensive. I think the entry level is about £15 a month. So you need to have that clarity on your sales, and most people just don't have clarity on the numbers or why they're losing, why they're winning, and therefore they're unable to tweak their strategy moving forward into the next year because they've got no data to back it up on, so there's no way they can improve. So yeah, all kind of things that you can be doing right now to plan for the future. Just a quick one on sort of low-hanging fruit. So there are some things that you could be doing to sort of sniff around and see if there's opportunities for you. I spoke about existing clients, obviously building relationships with them, using some of the content I've already spoken about, thinking about how we can upsell them and how we can ultimately retain them. I mean, if you can retain your clients, I think you're winning right now. But just retaining them might not be easy. So you might have to sort of demonstrate value, get them to pivot, get them to sort of think differently, keep them calm and adjust them through this time in order to maintain that budget that's coming into you. Look at your past clients and relationships. How many people have you spoken to that you've worked with in the past couple of years? Have you even reached out or got back in touch with those people, to see how they are? I think often people look at, they lose a pitch or they lose a client and that's it. We kind of cut all our ties, but it's crazy. And I think there's an opportunity there for you to sort of go back to some old relationships, check in, see how people are doing, maintain those. And you never know, you might be able to help people. Going through your LinkedIn network. So, the amount of people are probably sitting on your network, old friends, family, people that you've known for years. They've probably all moved jobs. They could be in really exciting brands right now. You could have 5 years ago, you might have worked with someone who's the head of marketing at Disney right now, but you haven't even looked in your LinkedIn network to even know that. And so you're just missing the opportunity entirely. So that's just something that you can all do. If you've got the CRM system already, then obviously you can then delve into that a little bit more and sort of try and unpick opportunities. On the same way, revisiting lost pitches. So just because you lost a pitch, it doesn't mean it's the end of the road. I often say a no is the start of a relationship, not the end. And it's about how do you sort of move forward from that? How do you make yourself relevant? And often the people the agencies that win those pitches, they don't often all come to light. Sometimes they work together for 3 months, they regret the decision, but then randomly they don't think about going back to you. They kind of go to somebody else, and but you weren't even privy to that conversation or a part of that journey. And so again, you've missed out on the opportunity. If you've met people in the past at events, so going through the old sort of Rolodex or business cards or people that you might be a time to sort of delve through those. Look at key referrals. So, who brings you business? Who refers you business? Is it other agencies? Are there freelance consultants you work with? Your clients? Who else could be referring work to you right now? And I think trying to push on those. And then generally using, industry news. So looking at share movements, new hires, companies that possibly need saving, companies that are thriving. Everything is out there in the news. It's all about using your intuition to sniff out those opportunities and turn something into a positive. You've only got to turn on the news and you'll see one instantly. But if you're not seeing that, maybe, I don't know, talk to us, talk to business development people, because that's our skill. That is what we do. We see opportunity in everything. And that's really important in a time like now. Cool. If you guys, any more questions, then just flick through. And also there is a poll I did at the bottom. I asked a couple of questions. I don't know if anyone's responded to that. Oh, I need to launch it. Hold on. I think I need to launch it. Right. I'll launch the poll now. Hopefully you'll see that. Okay, I think you can vote in your own time, so you can see the questions. Maybe I'll give you a couple of minutes just to do that, because it's going to be hard to read and listen at the same time. Are people able to see that? Because nobody has voted, or they just can't be bothered to do it, which is fine. I can carry on. I can't see the poll. So you can't see the poll. Can't see them. Okay, right. We'll skip the poll. It's weird because it says it's live. Maybe at the bottom, if you click on the bottom, is there anything about poll there? Okay, we'll can the poll because nobody can see it. All right. Sorry, thought I was trying to be clever. I'll move on. So just thinking about nurturing and sort of closing some of your existing leads. So as you say, people signing off right now is going to be a little more challenging than before. But there are lots of things and little tips I can give you to try. If you're talking to people, if there's opportunities there and you want to sort of move things along, then you can you can try some of these. So just acknowledging all their sort of fears and concerns at this time, and being there to sort of alleviate that. And that's a good sales technique anyway. Often people talk about budget or this agency or that agency. Ultimately, you've got to drill into the emotional reasons of why they're buying you or not buying you or going with a competitor, and that will help massively. Trying to build trust and rapport in a time like this. So going back to that kind of don't sell kind of mentality, now's the time to kind of not sell and just be really there for people and just understand and genuinely advise them on the right things to be doing. Now might be a time that they should be spending, they should be investing in their brand and the direction they're going in. Continue marketing online. So, for you guys and for customers, everybody is online more than ever. So we've got a very active audience right now. So we should be there for those people. And you yourselves could be doing sort of online webinars and things like this. Productizing your offers. So, we do this with a few agencies. We don't see it enough, really. I think, make yourselves easy to buy and productize what you do. So give people, you can obviously set caveats to that, but make it really simple and give people a clear direction about how they can buy your services. And, because the more confusing you make it, the less likely they are to sign off, basically. Getting prospects to commit to a smaller project. So, like we talked about digital transformation, the client I work with, some of their builds are sort of 250K. And it might be right now, it's just like, let's get them to commit to a strategy workshop or a concepting phase or, some sort of research, where they can invest a very small amount of the budget. But again, it brings in cash flow. It's a step forward in the relationship with you, but it's not kind of, the whole kit and caboodle. Make sure you know why prospects are not signing off with you. So, genuinely, I think too many people are scared of rejection, and actually it's just about asking people why they didn't sign off for you, why they went with somebody else, and just trying to get them to sort of cut the bullshit and be completely real and honest with you, because that's going to help you adapt and adjust to the next prospect and how you move forward. Using relevant case studies is a bit of an obvious one there, just in terms of, but I think often people, if you look at your case studies, there are different ways that you could segment your case studies and think about how they could be relevant to another brand. I think often people are too narrow-minded and thinking, well, I don't have any automotive experience, so we're not going to win an automotive client. And when I say naive, it's not naive. It's naive from both sides. I think it's naive from the clients, and it's naive from sometimes the agencies. But often, if you're able to shift their mindset and get them to understand why the challenge and the problem you solved in one case study is just as relevant to another sector and another business, if you can do that, you can open up another way of them thinking. And often it's about getting them to think beyond their sector, which is the one thing that's going to enable them to adapt and differentiate themselves. Be innovative with pricing strategies. So, now's the time, if a client is canning business, are there sort of performance related pay type conversations you could be having right now? Would it not be better to be paid a percentage of something than nothing? And I think sometimes being clever with how you're pricing and how you're charging people and the flexibility you're giving people within that is important. But similarly, if you're small and you're worried about cash flow, is it about getting payment up front now for work? Because you don't want to be left in a position, if their business goes under, you're going to go under too. Random acts of kindness, there's lots of things you could be doing right now, just to be generous and helpful to people, completely irrespective of the services and the work that you do. And I think we all need to sort of learn from that and do more of that. So we're seeing some great examples. Providing value and insight. So like the sort of the budget conversation I went to you about, how brands, it's proven that brands who spend or cut their budgets in a recession recover slower and do worse off in the long run. So that's an insight that you could be taking to your brands, to your clients. I'm sure there's loads more research you could be doing. And it's not about selling, it's just about helping them. So how do you provide that value? And also just one on sort of transition plans and onboarding. If a client is moving from one agency to another, there's often a lot of fear and concerns that they have around moving, basically, just simple moving. And I think agencies, as part of your pitching process, you can put in place a transition plan, like a checklist or a flow chart, or a sort of, a sort of calendar laydown of what's going to happen when. And I think that will really help people, give that client confidence to say, wow, they've really thought about everything, how we're going to shift from one client, one agency to another, and give them more confidence to just sign off on that deal. So all sort of things there that you could be doing to try and, nurture and close. So just to recap, I actually need to move something on my screen. Just to recap, keep calm and sort of carry on as best you can. Understand your new target audience. So really empathize with the people that you're trying to sell and market to. Look after your existing clients, genuinely from a case of a true partner and helping them and keeping your own sort of retention and cash flow going. Be bold, now's the time to adapt and thrive. And you might, as I've already identified, there's opportunities. Some industries boom in these times. So make sure you look and you use intuition and research to see those opportunities. Use sales tech to nurture leads. So, we talked about some of the tech. There's loads of more things and examples out there that you could do to be helping you. Use this time to plan for the future. And get yourself in a better shape. Target low-hanging fruit, as we spoke about, some of those quick wins, and try and nurture and close any existing business that's on the table. And also, obviously goes without saying, look after your people, make cutbacks on expenditure that you don't need to at the moment. Grab all the help from the government that you can get, and work with any kind of current suppliers and customers to make it more, to build those relationships. So that's kind of it from myself. So if you've got any questions, do sort of shout. I'm not sure why the poll didn't work. I'll try and relaunch it, but see if that makes any difference. But Q&A. So yeah, any other questions that people want to sort of jump in and talk to me about and ask. Lou. Hi, Lou. Can you speak? Oh. I'm trying to enable.
Yes.
Hi, Lou. Go on.
Hello.
Sorry. How you doing?
Hi, good. Sorry. Oh, my hand's up. It's not supposed to be up.
Oh, your hand was up. Yeah, I thought you had a question. Erroneous.
Apologies. No, thank you. I find it really useful, actually, as an agency MD in the current climate. You feel quite inspired early on and think, how can we kick in and do different and come up with new ideas? And then, of course, very quickly you go into that mode of looking after your team, making sure you're all match fit. It's easy to slip out of this new biz mode. So I think what you've gone through today, a bit of re-energizing that we needed right now.
Yeah, definitely. No, thank you for that. And I guess that's what I intended to do. As I say, that I think it's a lot of change, and I mean the world is changing daily, and it's you're right to be thinking about your staff first and foremost. You've got to think about your business cash flow. And you've got to think about your clients. And it's like, I guess the last 2 weeks have been kind of a big shift in that. But there is, as I say, opportunity out there. And now's maybe a time to get out there and help brands. And it's about, you got to be quick. You got to think on your feet. And as you say, there are some amazing examples of what brands are doing in a really authentic, credible way. And I just think, if you can be one of the agencies that can do that with one of your clients, you're not only going to maintain that relationship, but you're going to come out of it with a fantastic case study. It's the sort of stuff that, some of these case studies I'm seeing are going to win Cannes Lions in a week, in a year or two. And, I'm not saying that's the reason why they're doing it, but they will, that's the outcome that will happen because of people are putting people first and genuinely thinking about, value and brands and how they can be relevant. I saw, did someone else have their hand up before? Yeah, okay. Katie, did you have anything to ask?
Loads to ask now. It's all really brilliant. It's
be generous.
No, I think you've been brilliant, Adam. It's exactly the same advice that I've been giving my clients, and it's all really useful. I think for me, the key is, I guess, two things. One, you need to watch what's happening in the marketplace and adapt, but not adapt too quickly, because I think people that maybe started putting content out 2 weeks ago before lockdown happened, some of the things that they might have been saying or advising, or the tone of their content could be wrong. So I think it's about adapting, innovating, and evolving quite quickly, but not too quickly, if that makes any sense at all, because the market is changing so rapidly at the moment, and people are becoming more and more anxious as time goes on. So being helpful and innovating as quickly as you possibly can to the new future that we will all be living in, I think is super, super important, for brands, for agencies, for everyone, for us, for all of us really. And all you can do at this time, I think, is be helpful, and also collaborate more. I know you said at the beginning we're competitors, but I really think at this in these pivotal moments that we're all living in, certainly being part of an agency network like Pimento, now's a time for us to all come together and help each other and look at how we can approach new business opportunities, problems, as more of a togetherness, really.
No, definitely. I think agencies, I mean, we are unique in the fact that as an industry, we are all about innovation, adapting, helping companies evolve and move forward, and I think that's our strengths, that is what, as you say, we should be coming together. And, if there's other ways we can help each other, we should be doing that, as a voice. If we're all sharing a similar message to our clients, that be helpful, adapt, be bold, be useful, be relevant, I think if we do that, then, our clients will take that message on board and they'll shift, and hopefully that will continue to help our industry to thrive.
Definitely. And people desperately want help. It's been really interesting us, trying new strategies for our clients. So, the last couple of weeks, as much as I've wanted to be putting out lots of my own content, which I have done to try and help my audience, a lot of what we've been doing has been evolving and adapting very quickly our strategies for our existing clients. So we're retained by a lot of our clients. We've got sort of 4 sizable retainers. So actually, it's been really interesting to see the audience. We used to host, one of the things we do quite a bit is host events for our clients. We've taken all of those online to virtual events, and last week we had 100 people sign up for one of our events, and not just marketing execs. These were CEOs, heads of digital, CMOs, really, really senior people who all want help and want to know how to adapt and evolve. And usually we host quite intimate breakfast. We weren't sure whether we were going to let the numbers go that high, but all want help. They want to be engaged with, they want to listen to the agencies. And in fact, I think brands need agencies now more than ever. They need that advice, they need to understand what's going on in the market. So I think agencies have got a great role to play, and because we work with so many clients, having a kind of I guess maybe a slightly more rounded view of the world, we're going to be able to help them innovate, change, and spot trends. And
you've actually got quite a receptive audience there, haven't you? Because someone who's quite fearful at this stage, but everyone's at home, no one's commuting. I just think there is a bit of a receptive audience there who are thinking about how can we change, and even new business meetings, which will be done over video call, it just reduces the need for somebody to actually go to a client office or waste that time. Plus they can hang up whenever they want. It's kind of like, it means that you could have a new business meeting with someone and just say, let's just have a 10-minute call. If we don't impress you in that time, let's leave it there. I think you could do loads of those at this stage, and people might be open to that more than they were before.
And opportunities are still out there. Our clients have been still getting briefs last week. So brand new opportunities, and in fact, even this week they're having new business opportunity calls. They're getting briefs in through the door. So there are opportunities out there. I think you've done a really good job at highlighting the industries. Other ones that I've certainly seen, charities, the third sector. They're all having to do, well, dependent on what charity they are, but a lot of them are having to do quite a bit at the moment, and there's certainly opportunity within the charity sector, as there are.
I think charities have been really hit.
We've had 3 briefs in for our clients from charities.
Really? I heard because I work with I did work with a pure charity sector agency, and I heard that they were really hit, and financially. I mean, you even had charities looking to the government for more support. But I don't know, it depends which ones, maybe.
Yeah, I guess it depends which charity to a certain extent.
Also giving back, like, I did see a letter come through the other day. My wife had sort of started donating to UNICEF. So maybe now's a time where people are actually thinking, let's give back. How do I be more helpful and relevant to people? And actually they're spending more money on charities. So it's so hard to know sometimes.
It depends. I guess charities that are helping support everything that's going on right now are potentially going to do okay. People like the Red Cross, for instance, different, I guess, across varying different charity third sector departments. But we've certainly seen quite a bit of activity happening there.
Okay, I've just got one other. Josh has got a question. One second, Josh, I'll just let you speak. Can you talk, mate?
Yeah, thanks for that session. That was really interesting. I think the point / question that I wanted to make is, so I work for a podcast company, so we're in a fairly fortunate position at the moment whereby we can do all of our work remotely, which is actually bringing some new opportunities to the table. And I think that we can provide genuine help to brands or agencies who are looking to get content out there that normally rely on shoots. I guess the thing that we've been debating is where we're clearly going to a lot of our clients or people that we know at agencies to offer up that service to see if it can be a creative solution for them. It's about working out how much we do in the public space. So, you know, I really kind of picked up on one of the screen grabs you put up earlier from someone saying, we don't want to see brands selling at this point, and we're really trying to find that balance between how much of our comms that we put on our own channels on social and LinkedIn and our blog is trying to offer up something that could genuinely be useful but is ultimately a sell, versus just going to targeted agencies. And I find that balance quite an interesting but can be a challenging one, because I don't want, in this time, ultimately I don't want it to look like we're selling too hard, but for me it feels about the tone and how you approach people.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, you know, there is a sort of bit of a moral quandary at the moment where people are, but I think that happens even outside of this time. I think, you know, we tend to find a lot of people have a bit of a funny feeling about selling. They don't like selling. And I guess my mindset of changing that is actually, it's not about selling, it's about helping. So just think about what would happen if those brands that you're talking about didn't buy your services right now. So if they didn't do the podcasts or the online radio stuff that you're doing, right, would that mean that their sales are going to get hit? And if their sales get hit, does that mean they have to let a load of staff become redundant and let them go? And do their businesses go under? So my question to you would be like, are you selling or are you actually helping? Are you actually giving clients an opportunity to survive? Because do you know what I mean? If you shift your mindset to thinking about like that these businesses could really benefit from this, and that could, and keeping any business afloat right now is going to be beneficial for us all, to our whole economy. So
definitely, and I completely agree with that. And I think that ultimately we definitely believe we are adding value and we're providing a solution to people. So I think we are helping. So I certainly feel comfortable selling to them in that respect. I think it's more just a case of trying to work out the balance between what we put out as our company, as a kind of brand for our own company, and how you know, strong that looks in the kind of public space. But I think ultimately you're right, and that's why we are, you know, selling as hard as we can at the moment, because we think that we genuinely are offering value. But I just think about the tone. I think it's all about the tone and that you use to communicate what you're doing, and you know, and think about how that's going to resonate. You know, if it feels about like, you know, if it genuinely feels about helping people and adapting and adjusting and, you know, all that kind of stuff we've spoken about, then I think people will warm to that. If it feels like you're just trying to flog your wares and you're just trying to get a new business lead, then it might be that, you know, you need to adjust your tact. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But yeah, but it's really interesting, as I say, how people shift in these times, and like, you know, people doing vodcasts and webinars and all this kind of stuff that's now available. You know, people are shifting to it, and I wouldn't be surprised actually, you know, if this becomes a long-term trend as well, and that we see more people you know, adjust and use these tactics, you know, long after, you know, we're out of isolation. Cool. Anyone else for questions? We'll be sharing the slides on a PDF over the next couple of days. I've got there's other webinars we're doing. We're on one tomorrow at 3 o'clock with Beamer, and we're talking with BBH and a few other big agencies on that. In Leeds, we're doing some ones early on Wednesday morning, and then I'm on a podcast on Friday as well. And we're also going to be doing a lot more, you know, sort of strategy and positioning type of masterclasses and things online. If now is a time where you want to start planning and thinking about your own strategy and your own positioning, then, you know, maybe hop onto one of those and yeah, crack on. But yeah, sorry the poll didn't work. I can't see any more questions. But yeah, look, guys, if you got my details, if you want to send me, I'll just put my details back up on the screen. If you want to share anything with me, you've got my my email details there, and any questions, just pop it over. But thank you all for your time.